Hey everybody, welcome to Pop Culture Philosophers. I'm Rockin Robbie Billups, and it's time for the weekly comic book review. That's right everybody, it's time for the weekly comic book review. It's the show where I read a lot of comic books and I'll let you know what I thought about them, and we always start with the pick of the week. Let's get right into it. This week's pick of the week, Gideon Falls, number 10. What a fantastic comic book. You guys already know how much I love this book. It was my favorite comic book of 2018 from writer Jeff Lemire and from illustrator Andrea Sorrentino. They are doing such an amazing job on this book. This issue is no exception. One of the best yet. This is a great piece of horror fiction. It's a great piece that's also a character study. It's very atmospheric. There's a big mystery that's been laid throughout the entirety of Gideon Falls right now about the Black Barn, about what's really going on. I really think that some stuff starts getting very, very clear in this issue, but it does it in the most bonkers, fun, experimental, and boundary-pushing way possible. Seriously, it's almost like every time Lemire and Sorrentino step into what's the next issue of Gideon Falls is going to be like, they think, how can we warp comic book reality? How can we warp the structure of story and images? And how can we just like have more of an impact on the reader than a typical comic book does? Gideon Falls does that to me. Like I said, it's atmospheric. It's got a great moody tone about it. It's a great character piece. The characters are very rich. The mystery is, even as it's slowly becoming more and more revealed, the mystery is so engaging, so cool, so nifty. This book is awesome. Super creepy, very atmospheric artwork, beautiful luscious colors by Dave Stewart. Dave Stewart colors the Mike Mignola stuff, for instance. He knows how to color horror comics for real. This is great stuff. Gideon Falls, my favorite comic book of last year, and we're starting 2019 off strong with the pick of the week, the second week into 2019, New Comic Book Day. Gideon Falls, number 10, pick of the week. Fantastic book. Marvel's got some new books they want us to talk about, right? Let's talk about them. Invaders, number 1. I can't speak tonight. Invaders, number 1. Was actually really, really good. This is written by Chip Zdarsky. It's got artwork by Butch Guice and Carlos Magno, with coloring by Alex Guillermoz and Travis Laneham on the lettering. This book was actually really, really cool. A lot of times, the Invaders are basically the 1940s Marvel heroes, right? The World War II era type stuff. Captain America and Bucky, Namor the Submariner, the original Human Torch, Toro. There's others. There's tons of them, right? And every time that Marvel has tried to do something with the Invaders, it's never really been something I've really enjoyed that much. All New Invaders, then there was the one that they did with like Dynamite, wasn't there? They did something like that. The stuff from back in the 70s that I read briefly for, not in the 70s, but anyway, this was one of the most compelling stories in the modern era about the Invaders. I really, really like this. It picks right up on recent events from Avengers. Namor's kind of gone a more villainous route. What's going on there? Lots of great exploration with the character of Namor, with the effects of war, on veterans, especially when that war was so long ago. And does it still continue inside, and how everybody deals with it in their own way? Look at Bucky, look at Namor, look at, we know what the war, how that war has affected people like even the android Human Torch, and especially Captain America and Bucky, right? And others of the Invaders. They never really explored too much of it on Namor and how it's impacted him. I'm really liking this. Great artwork. Both artists work in conjunction with each other. Guice tells the flashback story set in the 40s. I really like the artwork. It's cool. I really like the stories. Chip Zdarsky has proven to be a great comic book writer over at Marvel Comics. His work on Star-Lord, his recent work on what was the book that just wrapped up that we all love, Marvel 2-in-1, of course. Really fun stuff. A lot of good things said about his spectacular Spider-Man run. He's coming in to do Daredevil too, but seriously, this Invaders number 1 was legit. I really liked it. There's also new Marvel Comics Presents number 1. Marvel's celebrating their 80th anniversary all year long. They're going to have all kinds of nifty little fun one-shots and specials and little series and things like this. Marvel Comics Presents is just like the old school Marvel Comics Presents that we all know and love. It's anchored by an ongoing, continuing Wolverine story, and it's going to have 2 little side stories in the back about other characters. This issue spotlights, of course, that Wolverine story and Captain America and a Namor story, and another cool story about Namor and the impact of World War II on Namor. That was a cool story by Greg Pak. The Captain America story at the end is all right. But the Wolverine story by Charles Soule, I've been really down on Soule's work on Wolverine, pretty much all of it. But this was a really good story, really fun, really engaging, nice little mystery, nice little short story. And they labeled the first one Marvel Comics Presents. They labeled the second one Marvel Age. They labeled the third story in here Marvel Spotlight. So it's a nice throwback and celebration of Marvel Comics. Great characters, nice fun little short stories. Marvel Comics Present was pretty cool. I really liked it. A new Black Widow debuts this week. Black Widow #1. Natasha Romanoff is back. You know, rumors of her demise in Secret Empire were, you know, not apparently true. Anyway, she is back, and now in her new series. This one is written by these two filmmakers, the Soska sisters. I am not familiar with their work, so I was excited to check this out. The last Black Widow series by Mark Waid and Chris Samney was astounding, so how does this live up to it? It's alright. It's alright. This doesn't really grab me, doesn't really engage me, doesn't really do anything that typical comic books don't do. It's not necessarily a bad comic book or anything like that, but it just didn't really get me into the character. It didn't really set up an engaging story. It leaned too heavily into some Secret Empire stuff involving Captain America. It seemed more like a Captain America team-up book than it did a Black Widow book. Didn't really get into Natasha, didn't learn anything new about the character, just didn't really hook me in, and that's what a first issue has to do. We talk about it all the time here at the channel. An issue 1's got to sell you. It's got to hook you. It's got to bring you right back in for issue number 2. Black Widow #1 just didn't do that for me. Fantastic Four #6 is here, starting the Herald of Doom story. This is awesome. If you've been reading Fantastic Four, first of all, I'm a huge fan. I'm super glad that it's back. This is a great story. So after all the setup of getting the FF back and getting Alicia and Ben married and all that stuff, now we just go right to it with a giant story involving Galactus and Doctor Doom. And it's awesome. Aaron Kuder on the artwork. It looks splendid. It looks amazing. Dan Slott's hamming it up with the script. I think it's perfect in tone, right in line for something like the Fantastic Four, because a character like Doom and Galactus still come across very menacing and very real threats. Great stuff. And new characters introduced in here, or elaborated on, I should say. A new Herald of Doom, as the story title would lead us into thinking. I really like this. Very colorful, very fun, very adventurous, and just straight up after the setup of bringing back the FF and the marriage, we get right into it. Doctor Doom, Galactus, in true Fantastic Four cosmic crazy manner. I loved it. Fantastic Four #6 out this week. Venom #10 is out this week. Another fantastic exploration and examination of the psyche of Eddie Brock and his codependent relationship with the symbiote. Really fun stuff. So the symbiote has been rendered inert, basically. It's at Eddie's side as a dog, which, by the way, I don't know if I've really conveyed how cool I think that is. It's adorable and it's really cool, and I just think it's an amazing little bit, but it's really fun. Really cool to see that symbiote be that little dog, and it's just kind of, oh, it's kind of a little sad. Anyway, this issue, Donny Cates reveals a whole new layer of motivation behind Eddie Brock's life and his pursuit to protect the innocent that we've never really known about. Really deep stuff. This is basically a conversation with him and maybe his new half-brother, something like that. New revelations. Donny Cates has been doing that, reinvigorating and reinventing the mythology behind Venom and his history. Really great stuff. Ryan Stegman continuing to pump out the greatest artwork of his career. You have rounded all about with J.P. Mayer on the inking and Frank Martin on the coloring. Clayton Cowles doing the lettering. This has just been one of Marvel's absolute finest comic books over the last year, and it continues to do so. Continues to shine in issue #10. Great stuff. Amazing Spider-Man #13 is here this week from Marvel Comics. Nick Spencer's really been killing it on this title, in my opinion. It's really fun. It references lots of past Spider-Man stories. It's great for old fans and new fans alike. It's really easily accessible. Gets right into it. It explains the history. It throws you into it. This last couple issues with J. Jonah Jameson trying to convince Spider-Man to go to this banquet dinner where he's being honored by Mayor Kingpin Wilson Fisk. Really fun, vibrant stuff. Added in with Ryan Ottley's artwork. Perfect artist for this. He was over on Invincible for so long. Never really thought about him on a mainstream superhero title, but Spider-Man is perfect. The story has a nice, fun vibrancy about it, and it also really gets into the character and the heart of J. Jonah Jameson. One of my favorite things that Nick Spencer does in this issue and the issue before is he's able to round out the character of J. Jonah Jameson, which Zdarsky was doing over at Spectacular Spider-Man and other Spidey writers have done for years and decades before, but he's able to really do that and round out that character and make him relatable and grounded, but he's still just jolly old J. Jonah Jameson no matter what, and it's really fun. It comes across both versions, both sides of that character come across very clearly under the pen of Nick Spencer. I guess they don't really write with pens anymore. Maybe Nick Spencer does, but most of them just type it out. Under the typewriter of... Typewriter? Anyway, Uncanny X-Men number 10 is here. This is the finale of the X-Men disassembled story. Now that it's all said and done, I can say it started off big and fun with lots of promises to like streamline some things, and ultimately what it did was it brought all the characters together to tell a very long, drawn-out story that could have been told probably in 4 to 5 issues. Ever since they announced the Age of X-Men, excuse me, we kind of knew where this story was going, and no surprise, it's going exactly where we thought it was going, which is the Age of X-Men, and it sets up the last X-Men story that's going to be coming in the next issue next month when Matthew Rosenberg takes over as the sole writer. So Uncanny X-Men has been neat, it's been fun. I've really enjoyed the inclusion of Maggot in these last couple of issues, though this was severely Maggot lacking, I would say. I never thought I would say that something was Maggot lacking in my life, but sometimes the X titles are. Anyway, this is all right. It's been fun. It's a neat little exploration, I guess, on X-Man and some motivations, but ultimately just kind of a thin story that doesn't really do anything but just set up another little thing to postpone yet another big X-Men line-wide kind of refocus, revision. I don't know. I don't know what Marvel's doing with the X-Men stuff. I think they're doing a good job of course correcting, but it seems like all they've been doing for the last few months is course correcting, and it's time to just get this ship going. And I really feel like Age of X-Men is going to feel like it's just going to halt that progress a little bit more. It's going to halt the story a little bit more. And Uncanny X-Men, obviously the next story arc is going to focus on Cyclops and Wolverine and a few other X-Men that don't get whisked away to whatever the Age of X-Men is going to be. This is kind of a little unclear on it. But Age of X-Men's coming. We'll see what happens there, right? But it seems like, and there's a lot of strong rumors that the X-Men stuff there's something big happening with the X-Men, but it keeps getting pushed out. Push back, push back, push back. Is it Jonathan Hickman? Who knows? That would be great though, right? Return of Wolverine number 4, and no, it's not over yet, but this is the penultimate issue of it. I cannot be more excited to see this whole death hunt return of Wolverine mess just over. I'm just ready for it to be over and for Wolverine to just be back, have his own title, get a good solid writing and art team on that, and just have a cool, fun Wolverine book. That being said, this is one of the better issues of Return of Wolverine yet. Declan Shalvey's artwork is back to a little bit more to the form that we're used to. It doesn't feel quite as rushed. It's a big exposition-y issue, but Charles Soule does a great job of explaining some things, but I still just can't bring myself to care that Wolverine's returning. I'm just glad he's back, and I just want a nice, fun Wolverine book again. And that's not it. Ironheart number 2, the second issue of Ironheart shines. I loved issue number 1. Kind of took me back by surprise because I was unfamiliar with the creators behind it. Issue 2, fantastic. Did not have second issue blues. A lot of books come out with a strong issue number 1 because it's so important, but even more important is having a strong issue number 2, right? But this book has been great. Eve L. Ewing? Yeah, Eve L. Ewing is the writer. Luciano Vicio is the artist. Jeffo doing the layouts, and Matt Mila doing the coloring. Clayton Cowles on the lettering and the production. Really fun, sleek, colorful book. I really do like it. The voices of the character rings true. I think that Ewing's really got this character nailed. I think she's got something pumped up. I'm really into it, really like it. It's very fun, very vibrant. It's got a high energy about it, and it's really kind of rooted in the Marvel tradition of superheroes, like something like a Miles Morales, a Kamala Khan, a Peter Parker, people like that. Really like the ongoing exploits of Riri Williams right now. Second issue, I really liked it. Second issue of Conan the Barbarian is here, and you know, I'm not really that big of a swords and fantasy Conan the Barbarian type fan, but this issue was enjoyable. Jason Aaron seems to really have a lot of fun writing this book. You can tell he was made to do this kind of work when he was writing, especially now that he's writing and continuing to write Thor, right? So Jason Aaron, this is something he's passionate about. It comes through in his strip. Mahmoud Asrar's artwork is really cool. Not typically what I think of when I think of where they would go artistically with a Conan book, but I do like the simple lines, but it's still very complex in its layouts, in its composition of the panels and the pages and the anatomies. Really fun stuff. I do like it. I'm not the hugest Conan fan, so I don't know how long I'm going to keep reading this book, but it's not a bad book. It's really, really good. Conan fans, I think you're in for a treat. Star Wars Age of the Republic special. So they've been doing this series of one-shots focusing on these different Star Wars characters from the prequel era, the Age of the Republic. This is a one-shot that does 3 little short stories, one about Mace Windu by Ethan Sachs. That one was really, really cool. The Asajj Ventress story by Jody Houser was actually really cool too. The Mace story was really, really cool though. And then there's a story at the end about Captain Rex and Jar Jar Binks, and it's actually a pretty cool story with really decent artwork. But the Mace Windu story in here was the best. They're fun, little, nifty little stories, but they're not going to change your life. Nothing like that. Let's jump over to DC. Batman Who Laughs #2 is out this week. I loved this issue. After the crazy events of the last issue, where do they go from there? Well, when you start reading it, you're like, well, of course that's where they go. Of course that's where this story's going. Really fun stuff. This new Grim Knight guy is great. I'm not going to really talk too much about what's going on in this book. Don't want to spoil it, but I will say that Scott Snyder's doing a great job with this book, with exploring the character of the Batman Who Laughs, but mostly how that reflects on the Batman that we know and love from the Prime DC universe, right? So, really fun stuff. This Grim Knight character is great. Jock's artwork is so fantastically awesome, gritty, abstract, and exactly perfect. It harkens back to Black Mirror, and speaking of some things like that, a great surprise at the end of this book I really liked. Batman Who Laughs, fantastic stuff. Superman #7 promises to tell us the story of what happened to Jonathan Kent, because Jonathan Kent came back and it seemed like he's a little bit older. A lot of people are like, Bendis, what are you doing? This is crazy. This is crazy. It's a pretty decent issue. It's kind of exactly what you think, but it's fun. Ivan Reyes is on the artwork a little bit, and then they bring in Brandon Peterson. And Brandon Peterson's actually doing some of the best artwork I've seen from him in years and years and years, and I'm really impressed with his segments in this. Really cool stuff. But the issue does exactly what it promises. Jonathan comes back, and he's telling the story to Lois and to Clark about what happened. But by the time you get to the end of this, you just want to look at it and say, well, duh. Anyway, I did like it. I think people need to be a little bit more patient with this and what's going on. What are they going to do with this character ultimately? Who knows? But I do like what Bendis is doing on Superman, but this is definitely taking the story back down just a little bit, telling a story through flashback, but it's revealing something that we really want to know. I think artistically it's great. I think script it's great. I really am liking Superman right now, and I'm willing to see where Bendis is taking this whole teenager Jonathan Kent thing. The only problem is it's really going to maybe affect the relationship with Damian over at Super Sons, right? Yeah. Detective Comics 996 is out this week. Peter Tomasi's 3rd issue on the title, building up to a big mystery that will probably be revealed in issue number 1000. And that's something that's really cool about this Detective Comics run, is it is built around a mystery, all kinds of clues, and you think that it's going to get solved very easily and out of nowhere in this issue, but it doesn't. So Detective Comics, does it always have to be a detective story? No, but a lot of people do expect it, and I do like it when at times they really kind of focus more on the less superhero-y aspects of Batman and more detective-oriented. But this is still a very superhero-y Batman comic book. So it's got big, awesome, explosive artwork by Doug Mahnke, who's a veteran in the industry. And Peter Tomasi's script references some of his previous Batman and Robin work, sets up some really cool ideas, and does some great, great stuff. I really like this book. Big things have happened. How long will that impact last? I don't know. But Detective Comics, I'm liking it. I think it's in good hands going into 1000 and beyond. Justice League Dark #7 is here with a really cool Tales from the Crypt inspired issue that tells a bunch of little short stories that are narrated by Man-Bat in a Tales from the Crypt type fashion. But these stories are about the other kind. So if you've been reading this book, listening to it, if you've been listening to this book, tell me how. Anyway, so this book has been building up this idea that there's this upside down reality, something like that. There's this upside down man. They're called the other kind. They're these evil, twisted, crazy, super creepy beings. And they start getting slowly revealed in this issue. James Tynion, the scriptwriter, does a great job of these characters, flesh them out. It's kind of like the comic book DC equivalent of the Cenobites from the Hellraiser films and the Clive Barker short story, but not really like that. Different and creepy and modern and creepy and just ancient and creepy, and I'm really liking this stuff. Justice League Dark is really picking up some steam for me. Really, really is. I thought Witching Hour was a little too much too soon. But after that, this other kind stuff, I'm loving it. Flash #62 is building up further and further into the Force Quest. This was a nice, fun issue. That was a nice, enjoyable action superhero comic book with some really decent artwork by Christian Ducey, or Duce, and Joshua Williamson doing a great job on the script, has been doing a great job ever since Rebirth started, slowly building up some things. Sometimes I think his stories run just a little bit long, but it really kind of kicks up into gear right here. Very fun, vibrant artwork, and I really just am still enjoying Flash immensely. Hawkman number 8 continues to be one of DC's best comic books right now. This book has been fantastic. Robert Venditti and Brian Hitch have taken this very convoluted history of Hawkman, and they have made it make absolute sense story-wise and just historically. Whatever. They've made it make a lot of sense. Hawkman number 8 is a big exposition issue where it's one of those issues where a guy's just talking to himself, kind of literally, but it works. It flows well. The artwork is not as refined as we're used to. I think Hitch is really turning in some high quality work with the page in the pages of Hawkman. This is great stuff. It explores Hawkman's connection to Krypton and to Krypton's destruction. So some more interesting secret history of Hawkman is revealed, and that's what Venditti and Hitch have been doing so well in this book, and just giving us great fun Hawkman action, and that's what they're doing, and I'm loving it so much. Catwoman is here with issue number 7, and that's a really cool variant cover, isn't it? I like the colors there. This is a decent first issue of the next story arc. I really feel like Joelle Jones is really coming into her own as a writer. I think she's doing a great job. The way that she lays out her narration and her dialogue and the way it reflects back and forth on each other. Really great stuff. I like the pacing. You can tell she's an artist because a lot of the story is told visually, and that's really, really cool because comic books are also mostly a visual medium. Really cool artwork, by the way. You do have a fill-in artist, but it does keep like kind of a fit with Joelle's style. We got Alina Casagrande and Fernando Blanco and John Calise, I believe, on the coloring, but I do like the artwork. It's got a nice pace, got a nice tone to it, great dialogue, an interesting setup to this next story, and Penguin's in it, and it kind of makes you think a little bit of Batman Returns, don't it? Anyway, Catwoman number 7, pretty solid. Jones is doing some superb work on that title. I do feel like the first arc ended a little weakly, but there's more to come, I believe. Electric Warriors number 3 is a mini-series from Steve Orlando, and it's set in the future of DC, kind of like even past Commandy days or something like that. And it's really fun, kind of gladiator type stuff. I really like it. Crazy, wonky, future cosmic DC type ideas, and embedded in a nice little gladiator story of people trying to earn their freedom. Gladiators, you know, fighting for the entertainment for an empire, and they want to revolt and slay. So it's like Gladiator, right? Yeah. But in the DC universe, in the very far future. And I'm really liking it so far. Some really cool ideas and some great character work and explorations on those relationships there. Really like that book, actually. So let's talk about some independent titles and beyond. First of all, Fearscape isn't. This is the 3rd printing of Fearscape number 1 out this week. And I just want to say, I love the entire team at Bolt. They do all these nice homages and just nods to other companies, and we know that that's a big reference to Mr. Miracle by Tom King and Mitch Gerads and Darkseid is, and that is just so awesome. I love it. Isola returns this week with issue number 6. Yes, issue number 6 of Isola is out this week. It's been gone for a minute. We also get this Isola prologue, so look for this at your comic shop. It should be free with your purchase of an Isola number 6. The Prelude was a story that they did. I don't remember if they did it online or in an Image Plus or something like that, but they're finally collecting it and making it available for fans that loved Isola. Doesn't really like lead you as far up into issue 1 as I thought it did, but it does provide some interesting background on how the Queen and this lady meet. That being said, the 2nd arc of Isola starts this week, and I loved it. This book has just been just solid, beautiful, gorgeous artwork and coloring. It is so fantastic. The artwork alone, Carl Kerschel and Mosaic doing an amazing job. You add in Brendan Fletcher with the story along with Kerschel. Really like it. It's a simple fantasy story, but the artwork is so gorgeous. It's really just something special. And I did not remember how much I loved this book because it had been gone for a while, and the book has gone bi-monthly now, so it will be every other month. But what a joy it is to read an issue of Isola. It has some of the most luscious colors and most beautiful line work I've seen in layouts in a comic book out there right now. It's amazing. Middle West. I almost said Whittle West. Whittle West. Middle West number, I had to look at it again to verify. Middle West number 3, I almost said it again. Middle West number 3 is out this week. I'm really liking this book. It's written by Scotty Young, who's just really coming into his own as a writer right now, especially with like young age direct aimed fantasy. Really like it. Jorge Corona on the artwork, Jean-Francois Beaulieu on the coloring. Really, really fantastic stuff. I love the artwork. It's basically a story of a boy who's run away from home from his abusive angry dad, but it's wrapped up in this fantasy world, but it's not like super hard fantasy, and it's not like in your face. There's this great scene in here with a troll at a bridge. So that's kind of a little bit in your face, but it's very grounded and still feels very much like the real world. There are just these little random elements of fantasy that are there that you look like at their house, and you look like they get this energy, this magical energy source, or the scene with the troll at the bridge. But I'm loving this book so much. Really like it. Like I said, Scotty Young is really stepping up his game as a writer. Even over at Marvel's Deadpool, he's kind of killing it right now. Middle West, Bully Wars just wrapped up. Middle West is fun. It's the return of Dark Ark. Dark Ark number 13. The Ark has landed finally on solid ground. So you think the story would be over, but nope, there's still a lot of craziness to come. Did not see this coming. Some new characters are introduced, new beings, and they are wickedly awesome because of Wando's artwork, especially with this coloring. I really love it. It's very moody, very atmospheric. Cullen Bunn, this is one of my favorite books I've ever read from Cullen Bunn. He does great horror work in comic books. Books like Harrow County, for instance. Dark Ark, though, has been something so fun, so slam-bang awesome. I enjoy it every time I read it, and I feel like it's nearing a conclusion. I think this may be the final story arc, but if it is, I'll love what I have, but I would love to have this book just continue on and on and on. Dark Ark number 13 out this week. Baby Teeth number 14 is out this week. And man, Donny Cates really just keeps turning up the heat on this book little by little. It starts off and you're like, you know, it's all right. It's a decent little setup for a story. Woman has a child. He's supposed to be the son of the devil, the Antichrist. He's got crazy demon powers. But she loves him, and he's still just her baby, and she wants to protect him. And then you get all these different organizations coming after him, all kinds of craziness. They go into hell. In this story now, they are in hell. They meet the devil finally. Not what you think. Really great issue, though, where the devil really explains a lot about the story and sets up some ideas. That Donny Cates sets up some really interesting stuff. The story, every little turn that this story takes, it's a very cliche-ridden type story, right? All these stories like The Omen and all these stories about devil kids, right? They eventually, because of successful movies like The Omen and things like that, they eventually start hitting this cliche, right? They're all the same, just cookie cutter, right? Donny Cates, what he does so cleverly with Baby Teeth and what keeps you so engaged is right when you think this becomes predictable and cliche, he turns a little turn there and it goes completely in another direction and away from the typical fiction in this genre of, I guess, baby apocalyptic fiction. But Baby Teeth number 14 is here. Donny Cates is doing a great job. Gary Brown's artwork, I'm just getting into it more and more and more. I thought it was a little sloppy, a little too loose when I first started reading this book. But just like homie over at Redneck, I'm loving it, and it's perfect for the tone and the scope of the story. Baby Teeth number 14, seal of approval. Firefly number 3 is here, and you know I only intended to read like an issue or maybe 2 of this, but I kept reading it. Why? Why don't I keep reading it? Like, I kind of want to be over Firefly. I don't want to be one of those people that's always, like, holding on to Firefly, right? Because, you know, that was years ago, and I've had my time to mourn, right? I want to move forward. Don't want to look back. That being said, I'm a huge Buffy fan. I'm very pumped for that Buffy book coming out. Anyway, so I just wanted to read it. Why? What's really appealing to me about this? The voices of the characters are kind of there. The story is decent, and what I really like about the story is that they're talking about some heavy ramifications from the war that Zoe and Mal fought. They're doing some really deep character stuff with them right now, or at least they're attempting to. They're inciting some possibilities for some really cool character work to be done. Revealing some interesting, not so, some unsavory things about the past of Mal and Zoe and their fight for good, right? And how in war, is there a good side? Because war is just war, and war is hell, right? And I don't know, and the things you have to do in war. That's what I'm really liking about this book. I'm also really liking the boldness of Dan McDade on this book. Because most people want to do a very photorealistic kind of artist. Like over the Star Trek books, they try to really mimic the looks of the faces and stuff. And that's fine and that's cool. And sometimes at least the thing's looking very static and not flowing very organically. The artwork in Firefly, to me, flows very organically. Because they're not trying to just mimic something. But McDade is actually telling a story, and it's got elements of those characters and those actors in there. Especially there's this one bit with Mal in here where it looks like Nathan Fillion right there. But I don't know. It's just it's the type of artwork you typically don't get in licensed comics, and it's very refreshing. It's kind of like when Dan Moore was doing Power Rangers, and you're like, this is refreshing that this isn't just, just whoever can draw, Nathan Fillion, right? I don't know. I really like the artwork in there, and I really like the exploration about the nature of war and what it did to Mal and Zoe, and I really like that Firefly book so far. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Shredder in Hell #1. I haven't been reading Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I read it for like a good 20 issues or something when it first started, the IDW run, and I really did like it. So I'm a little lost. I didn't even know Shredder was dead. I guess spoilers, but he's in hell. It says it on the title. So I wanted to get it because it's one of those in hell books, right? Hellboy in Hell was awesome. Of course, that's the end of an ongoing story. Godzilla in Hell book was really fun. So Shredder in Hell, beautiful artwork, seriously. But yeah, I'm lost. I don't get the story. I'm lost. I don't really understand a little bit of it, but it's beautiful artwork, really cool stuff. That I'm glad I checked it out. But I am a little lost. Should have been reading Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Dick Tracy, Dead or Alive, #3 is here. Let's talk about this one, because this is not a super fantastic comic book, but I enjoy it because it's the Allreds and it's Rich Tommaso, and adding the idea that Allred is inking Tommaso's pencils, and then of course Laura is coloring. It makes it feel like it's Allred's artwork, but it's not. It's slightly different, and it actually makes it fit more in with the classic look of the classic strip of Dick Tracy. But I really like the artwork in this one. It really shines. I'm really having a lot of fun. The Allreds, Tommaso, they're reawakening a love of this character inside of me, and I'm very thankful for that. But this book is not going to turn you into a Dick Tracy fan. You already have to be a Dick Tracy fan to appreciate this book, is what I think. Anyway, that's what I read. That's what I thought about them. What are you reading? What do you think? Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you so much for checking out the video. Don't forget, you can help support this channel and everything we do, and unlock exclusive content like PCP video newsletters from me throughout the week, and early access to certain videos over at patreon.com/PCP. Thank you guys so much for rocking with us. Please do like, share, and subscribe. And don't forget, no matter where you go, there you are. Thanks for rocking with us. I'm Rockin Robbie Billups. Keep on reading.